I began reading The Laramie Project at about 2 o'clock in the morning, thinking that I would knock out a few pages before I fall asleep for the night. 3 hours later, I was sitting up in bed with a box of tissues close by as I read on in disbelief. I felt like I was there to witness this poor young man's beating, being hit time and time again with the butt end of a .357 Magnum until he was unrecognizable as even human. The words of the first responders describing how his face was totally covered in blood except for where the tears washed it away will haunt me forever. Even worse yet, I couldn't help but think the entire time I was reading Matthew's story that the boy in his 20s very well could have been me. Like Matthew, I grew up in a smaller town in a rural area. Millstead, Illinois was not a bad place to grow up, but you really couldn't hide much. Growing up gay in the middle of the countryside was still a terrifying thought, however. Even in high school, I was barely 100 pounds wet, and thanks to skipping a grade early on, I was a full year younger than the youngest in our grade. I was an instant outcast, but people left me alone. There were still problems, though. I can't count how many times I was in detention on Saturdays for fighting at school. I was never afraid to defend myself, but that did little to stop the black eyes and broken noses that plagued my youth. Looking back, I find little comfort in knowing that it all could have changed in an instant. All it would have taken is one homophobic or prejudiced person to end either my life or end my will to survive. Matthew Shepard was neither the first nor the last victim to lose his life over something he himself could not control. The discrimination against those that are different is still a problem, and it is perpetuated by false rumors, the media, and even religious institutions. I never will figure out how, if God never makes mistakes, and Jesus says never to judge others, especially when you yourself have bigger problems, how the issue of gays and lesbians made its way into churches in the first place. Regardless how it happened, it did, and it is a real threat to people like me. It is a shame that it took an event as tragic as the brutal murder of Matthew Shepard for the issue to hit the mainstream. I am sure he never wanted to be a martyr, just like I never would have wanted to. Living in fear knowing that it could have been me and Laramie is no way to live. I just hope one day the fear will be a thing of the past.